Servus, Männer. I want to talk about a very hot topic today, and that is imported foreign conflicts in Western countries. You might have noticed, or you might have heard, or maybe even experienced that in recent weeks or in recent days, there is, well, once again, the same old or a new clash of the same old conflict in the Middle East right now. And let's just say that this conflict is not limited in space, of course, to these or to this Middle Eastern country, um, but we see a lot of clashes between different groups, also in Western countries. Not not in Japan. I've not heard that. Also not in China. Really strange, huh? But for some reason in Western countries there are groups that get into conflict with each other on the street, for example, and on roads and public parks and so on. And sometimes they're not even really related to these conflict parties in Asia. They are not even ethnically from the same group, sometimes not even religiously on one or the other side, but still they fight each other because they are Western groups, groups of Western people who are ideologically or for whatever reason aligned with one or the other conflict party. And so you have clashes between groups of Germans, for example, who are not related or have anything to do with these groups that struggle in the Middle East right now, but they still are at each other's throat here in Germany, or maybe in France, or in Canada, or whatever, and they're not even related. But of course, there are those diaspora people also here that are related to them. But it's both. It's a mix. It's funny. Yeah, and this is exactly what many right wingers, many conservatives even, have warned us about uh, in uh, a long time ago. I would say already, maybe 20 years ago already. They said, "Hey, if we import all these people, we import their conflicts too." Which is not really um, self-explanatory, I would say, because you might have these people here, but they don't fight their conflicts here. That would, for example, I think in Japan, I met a lot of different people from all over the world. And there were some Germans, and there were also some French people. Now, if France and Germany um, had bad relations during this time, still, it is very hard for me to imagine like 50 Germans running through the streets of Nagoya and confronting a group of young Frenchmen or something. Because we wouldn't do that as Europeans. We would say, hey, we are guests here in this foreign country, and we're not gonna have a fight here because that's not how guests should behave. We should keep our conflicts to our own countries and not fight them in completely uninvolved nations. You know? And that is just something that is natural for us, but for those people, it doesn't seem natural. They think, or they don't even care if they're in a different country, right? They just think, hey, we don't like this group, so we attack them. They don't. It doesn't even occur to them that this is absolutely disrespectful to the host country that hosts them, in many cases at a great cost. They still do it. And that is what I find so remarkable, what is so different between them and us, that I think we wouldn't have these fights in other countries if we were the guests, um, but they don't really seem to care about it. Yeah. And once again, you can say that the right wingers, the conservatives, or yeah, back then you could still say conservatives, I guess, they were right once again. Yeah, they were correct. Their predictions were correct. It came to pass precisely as they predicted, and it wasn't so hard to predict because we had this in the 90s already in Germany. In the 1990s, there were also fights, and continuously since then. But in the 90s, it was big news because it was new for us, like between some tribes from Anatolia and some Ottomans or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, so these different tribes that live in Asia Minor, they also both came here to Germany, and they don't like each other. Yeah, they don't like each other. So they had fights there, and now we see the same thing with other tribes, let's call them that, who fight now in Germany, and it has nothing to do with Germany. It has nothing to do with France. Has nothing to do with the U.S. Has nothing to do with Canada, and so on. But still, these people are here. Some of them a little longer. Some of them just arrived recently, and yeah, they think they can behave this way. And why wouldn't they? Because we're not really enforcing our norms. We're not really saying, hey, look, this is how you behave in this country. Um, it, for them, I mean, from their perspective, it looks like it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. Yeah? they behave the same way as they behave in their countries of origin, and they're having like literal battles on the streets, yeah. Doing things, by the way, that Germans would go to jail for, but of course, there are special rules for them, yeah. Or let's say the rules only apply to the indigenous population here. The irregular guests can do whatever they please. And yeah, some of them are guests for a very long time already, let's say. Yeah. But yeah, they don't really how should I say, they're not really compatible with us. They have very, very different ideas about how a society should be organized, how it should function. And luckily, in this small, nice town here, there are no such things to be observed. It's very peaceful here, very quiet, and yeah, you won't see these nasty images that you might have seen in, yeah, wherever. I think, the US and Canada, in Belgium, the Netherlands. I think all over the West, where you have these groups, they show this kind of behavior right now. Very nasty. And once again, something that right-wing people have predicted and warned society about. But of course, at that time, nobody listened, and people laughed about them and ridiculed them, and oh, you stupid right-wingers, what you're saying is so unrealistic. This would never happen. Yes, right. Anyway, so maybe that happens also in your country, and I'm sure you have your opinions on that. My opinion is just, you know, they sh- they should do that in their own countries. I don't care. I don't take sides because none of these people has anything to do with me and my family. We're completely separate entities. Yeah? Our bloodlines never crossed, and that means I have nothing to do with these people. We don't have a shared background, so I absolutely don't care one way or the other. They should do that in their own countries where they come from, and or from the area, let's say, because country, maybe they don't have a country, but from the area that they think they belong to or whatever, right? They should do it there, not here in Europe, because that's our country, that's our continent here, and they should respect our rules. But once again, I said it already. I almost can't blame them because we do everything we can to make it look like it's okay, or we don't enforce our rules with them. We only enforce it on the indigenous people, but our norms and our rules are not really enforced there. So, yeah. It's also the problem of liberal, progressive Westerners, of course, with their false notion of tolerance. that makes this behavior possible in the first place. But, well, this is the combination that we see here. Yeah. All right. Let me know what you think about that, and enjoy the rest of your day, as will I. Servus, Kameraden.